Hey everyone, welcome to the channel for another Escape from Tarkov video. It's an exciting time out there in Tarkov. The pre-wipe events have started, BSG are releasing teaser images like crazy, and raiders are out roaming everywhere in the city. So I figured it would be a good time to talk about my hopes for the upcoming patch 0.12. Keep in mind that this is largely my opinion on what I'm most hyped for in the upcoming patch. I'm sure everyone has their own thoughts on some things, but this is just my perspective. I'm not going to ramble about this for too long, and I've picked the things I'm most looking forward to for this video. So without any further delay, let's get into it. To start things off, just this morning, Battlestate let the Scav Raiders out of their kennels in the lab, and they're now standing guard on each and every map in the game. This is both good and bad news for everyone out there trying to get their last handful of raids in before the patch drops, but mostly good news if you're a fan of awesome loot and wicked firefights. These guys are generally patrolling in groups of about 4 from what I've seen so far, and they're loaded up with the same nice guns, armor, and equipment they carry in the labs. I missed out on the last raider event before the previous patch, so I'm pretty excited to fight these enemies in some different locations besides the claustrophobic corridors of the labs. On that map, they really own the place because you're forced to fight them at close range where their aimbot skills give them a huge advantage. It's nice to finally be able to beat them at their own game, set up on a hill with a nice scope and smack them like the loot pinatas they really are. They're way more deadly than normal scavs, but their loot and XP you get from killing them makes it worth the challenge. These next few days before the patch drops should be a good time to practice your fighting skills against the raiders and basically pull a full loadout off of every kill you make. I have noticed a few normal scavs still kicking around the maps, but the vast majority of scavs are replaced by raiders, so stay frosty and enjoy the loot while it lasts. With that out of the way, I'd like to talk about the thing I'm most excited for with the 0.12 patch, the Unity 2018 engine migration, and all the work being done to improve the overall performance of Escape from Tarkov. Anyone who has played the game for a while knows that while it's still far from perfect, the game has seen slow but steady improvements to performance and stability throughout the last couple years. Desync and hit registration issues used to be an everyday occurrence, but over the 0.11 patch, I have been really impressed by the overall stability of the game and the servers, at least in my experience. With that said, further improvements to the performance after the transition to the updated engine and from their work retooling the animations really gets me hyped. I play on a pretty nice setup, not exactly a supercomputer, but it's a pretty nice rig, and even I struggle to keep Tarkov above 60 FPS at all times, especially when I'm running magnified optics or multiple optics. Even when the game is running smooth overall, the occasional harsh frame dip or stutter really pulls you out of the moment, and every step towards improving that makes me pretty happy. I'm really excited to dive in and see just how much they've improved things in terms of the average performance. Sort of related to this point about performance, I know that there's been a lot of talk about changes to the audio system and how directional sound is relayed to the player. I think this, along with the performance improvements, are going to do a lot to improve the immersion and moment-to-moment gameplay experience. So I'm definitely excited to check this out, and honestly, it's what I'm most hyped about in the upcoming patch. The second thing I'm really hyped for is any changes, improvements, and additions they plan on making to the questing system and the overall flow of tasks and leveling up traders. Quests are kind of a hot topic among the Escape from Tarkov community, both with new players and longtime veterans. New players can get easily frustrated by how obscure the quests and their instructions are. And on the flip side, veteran players honestly get so tired of doing the exact same quest grind over and over for each patch. Love them or hate them, they are a necessity to complete if you want to unlock equipment and level up fast. Because of this, I think the game will benefit enormously from some smart changes to the quests and additions that change the flow of the quest grind. This is something we really have no concrete details about, but in my opinion, I'm really hoping to see quests redistributed across the maps more evenly, and for the order of the quests to be tweaked with new additions. On the first point, I think most players can agree with me when I say the early game quest grind on customs is not a terribly enjoyable experience. experience. It's not even that Customs is a bad map, especially with the new additions, but the fact every player needs to pile into the map for a ton of early quests and rush the exact same positions makes it a really frustrating traffic jam, especially when you're not the best in a gunfight because you're a new player. By taking some of the quests and simply moving them to other maps or changing their order in the chain, it gives players a reason to play each map right from level 1 instead of feeling obligated to grind Customs until your head hurts. This can help introduce new players to each map early on and spread the population out a bit so that it's not such a monotonous grind fighting over that one bronze watch in the construction site. Like I said, we haven't really gotten any concrete details on quest changes, but it has been discussed, and I for one am holding my breath to see the changes that they've made. Next up, arguably the biggest additions in terms of content for the 0.12 patch is the new map, Military Base, and not one, but two new Scav bosses to put fear into our hearts. For me, personally, fighting the current bosses Killa and Rashala is honestly my favorite part of the Tarkov experience, so I'm really stoked to have two more unique enemies to kill or be killed by. On top of this, the Military Base map looks like it is most likely going to become my new favorite map. It has the claustrophobic, multi-leveled maze of hallways, corridors, and stairwells that make interchange and labs so intense, and it also promises to be a large map with plenty of long sightlines for building to building firefights and flanking maneuvers. There's also going to be an insane Scav boss squad with military grade gear, and because it's a military base, I'm assuming the Scavs will be well armed and loot will be plentiful, so I really can't wait to start exploring and get myself familiar with the new map. The wood Scav boss also seems really interesting. Equipped with an AK and an SVD sniper and described as an ambusher, I'm hoping he really strikes fear into our hearts every time he lets off a shot. His loot system also seems really interesting, with the rumor being that he drops a unique key that opens his secret stash of loot on the woods map. Sounds pretty interesting, and I'm very excited to see how it all plays out. As a gun enthusiast and someone who fell in love with Tarkov largely because of the weapon customization, I must say my mouth is definitely watering at the promise of a massive dump of new parts, gear, and weapons in the game. We have seen tons of screenshots teasing this new gear, and a lot of it looks super cool and like it will add tons of new options to change the look and feel of your weapons. I'm really looking forward to seeing what kinds of new builds I can make, especially in the early to mid game, and I'm excited to see weapons like the HK416, SA58, and RSAS get their modding options expanded to be on par with the AK and M4. On this point, I'm also really intrigued by the new trader, Jaeger, and how he will work. There have been rumors that he will actually sell uninsured gear or gear from failed insurance returns, which could be a very cool new way for players to grab nice gear without relying on flea market resellers. I'm hoping he also has a full stock of special items that only he sells, but even if he's just a gimmick trader, I think it will be refreshing to have a new face in Tarkov. The last thing I want to talk about is the addition of the hideout and the implementation of out-of-raid healing. Now, to be honest, the hideout isn't super high on my hype list. It's not that I don't think it will be cool and fun to build, but I tend to have my fun in Tarkov during the raid, and I'm a bit hesitant about something that's likely to take up a lot of time outside of the raid. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what it's like, and I'm definitely going to focus on upgrading it, but things like new maps, bosses, and weapons really have my attention more than the hideout. On this point though, I will say that I feel like I'm one of the few people who's actually pretty excited for out-of-raid healing. Yes, it has the potential to be annoying, and yes, it will probably be a drain on resources, but I think every step the game takes towards forcing players to be more careful and value their life and their good health is a good step. While there has been a lot of criticism and backlash to this proposed addition, I think we need to wait to see how it's fully implemented before we go too crazy. While it has the possibility to be a real annoyance, I think it will just make players place a higher value on meds and on playing smart to avoid getting shot in the first place. We don't know how long the healing will take out of raid, and we don't know how much the hideout will affect this, and that's why I prefer to remain hesitantly optimistic about it. Hopefully, it's not just a huge resource and time drain, but we won't know until we know, so I'm just crossing my fingers that it's done smartly. This thing sure does have some recoil. With that said, we've come to the end of this video going over my hype list for the 0.12 patch. We've all been waiting a long time for this to come, and I for one am really excited that we're so close. I want to say another huge thank you to everyone who's been supporting the channel since I got into making these videos. Your feedback and support are amazing and keep me motivated to do this. Thanks to everyone who has checked out the channel and visited my stream, I really appreciate it. Speaking of that, I stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/jdogthewise, and it'd be great to see some more people drop by, so I'll leave a link for that in the description. Thanks again for checking out the video. As always, feel free to leave any comments, corrections, or suggestions down below, and until next time, stay safe in Tarkov City.